Hey, everybody, this is Brett Ingram, and this is the optYOUmize podcast, the show that helps entrepreneurs build their dream business and dream life. Today, we're talking with Alain Salas, #1 Amazon best-selling author, chiropractic physician, and mind and body expert. He created the goal and success clearing system to help ambitious entrepreneurs break the cycle of limiting beliefs. I'm super excited because I know there are a lot of people that struggle. And even though they work hard, they just can't seem to move forward. So, with that, welcome, Alan, and thanks a lot for joining us.
Oh, you're very welcome, Brett. Bonjour, like we'll say on my native language, right? I've got a little bit of an accent, so bear with me, you will get it, right? And so, yes, what you say is so true, right? This is so important.
Yeah, I have a ton of stuff I want to ask you and talk to you about, but can we start off with your background? I'm interested in your personal story. Can you share how you started your career?
Yeah, well, I used to live on my sailing boat in south of France, right? I used to rent boat, and for me, freedom was in the outside, right? It was synonymous of adventure, right? And so, of course, the symbol of freedom is like a sailing boat, right? And so I got that, and I did that for like 8 or 9 years. And the last year, I had a calling. I don't know how to explain it, but I saw myself helping people, right? So you have to understand, you have to picture me. They used to call me the gypsy, right? And so I had long hair, the hearing, party all the time. And when I was done working, I will go to either sailing and or traveling in the South Hemisphere, right? So it was a party nonstop, chasing the sun. And so when I told my parents, oh, by the way, I'm going to America to become a doctor. So I just let you imagine their face, right? I mean, they were smiling quite a bit. But they didn't understand that how lucky and blessed I was because my purpose in life has been given to me. My mission in life has been given to me. And this is so important. Like your purpose is like the fire and your action is the log that you put to feed your fire, right? And so I sure did it. I sold my boat business, and came to America. Got my first adjustment, by a French woman from my own town in America. That was crazy. And after I had to do some prerequisites, so I went to Kansas City, Missouri, and I met my French wife. But I got divorced actually. But yeah, we had a daughter. Like her name is Maya, and yeah, that's how everything started.
It's amazing. It's interesting that living this life of sort of freedom and wandering around, you would then all of a sudden find that. I've talked to a lot of people where maybe they've heard a calling at some point, but it's usually sort of precipitated by something that happened, right? So they have a tragedy or something happens to them, or they're thrown into a circumstance where they didn't expect to be effective or good, and then they realize, wow, I really like this. So it's fascinating that for you it was there wasn't really one specific moment, but yet still very, very cool and so different from what you were doing before. Um so once you went into, like becoming a doctor and all that, what led you specifically into sort of the either the psychology element of it or the human performance element? What got you either fascinated or drawn into that area of it?
Yeah, like every human being, it happened. I'm a doctor, but I'm just a man trying to find solution for my problem, right? And so that's that simple. And so within a year, I ending up because I built like a pretty successful practice. I had 4 employees, and I was checking. Like for example, if you come to the office, Brett, I will check I will muscle test your organs, find out which one are under stress and what's causing your stress. So I was dealing with more chemical stress and less than physical stress like regular chiropractic. And so to prevent all those chronic disease, right? And so I had like 4 employees. I was seeing like 230, 50 patients a week. I mean, I was living the American dream, the big house and all that stuff, right? But when life's got in store more than you can see yourself, doing, well, you let you know. And so within a year, I basically, because I was working so much and all my attention, all my energy was going into that practice. And so I was totally imbalanced, to be honest with you. And so when I was coming back home after a day of work, I was there, but I was not present with my family. So of course I ended up divorcing, right? And when you've got a kid and you divorce, trust me, it's never a handshake. So I started to feel depressed, right? And so my business went from thriving to failing, right? And so I ending up living in my office, and I've said, oh, maybe it's for 6 months or something. I ending up living in that beautiful office. I give you that, but for 3 years, right? And so I remember my daughter was coming on weekend and some during the weekday, but within a year or so, I got divorced. Well, my practice went down, so my prosperity, so relationship prosperity, and I got diagnosed, the cherry on the cake, and I got diagnosed with early stage of colon cancer, right? So you have to understand that this is what I was supposed to help people preventing that, right? Of course, I do my own program and I got sick. So I have to rethink about everything about my health, my job, my relationship, my prosperity, everything, all the basic things, the 3P were taken away from me. And so what I have to say, I never seen myself as a victim, right? I knew there was a purpose behind it, right? I didn't know, to be honest, what it was, right? But I knew that it will be through my healing, I will be able to transfer that into helping my clients and patients better.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of stuff to deal with in a really short period of time.
Mm.
And I don't know why it is, but it does seem to be that life tends to go that way, where when things start to go down, it's a lot of stuff at once, and then you have to sort of deal with that and unpack it all. But certainly, I think your story is one that resonates really well with a lot of people because regardless of what level of success we've felt, everybody's been through those moments where it's just dark. Things are, you could feel like you're on the mountaintop at one moment, and then the next minute, for some reason, something goes wrong and things completely change. I know in my own entrepreneurial journey, I started to build up a business and I got to a certain level of success. I was really happy and excited. And then literally there was some market things going on that totally crashed it. And that's happened to me a couple of times. And it's really difficult when you feel as though, it's your thing. So you sort of feel on the one hand like I should have been able to predict this. But on the other hand, you're sort of like, well, you can only focus on what you can do going forward and how you move forward from that. And so yeah, that's fascinating. So if we look at entrepreneurs, as a general group, right, we feel like we're in control. We always feel like, okay, well, we're the boss and we're going to make all the decisions and we're the ones with all the answers. But are we? Are we really fully in control of our own actions, reactions, and our business decisions?
Yeah, well, that's a very good and a very interesting question, right? Because control is an illusion, right? I mean, like you say, you think we're in control. So let me introduce about what is the mind, right? Because again, just to go back to my story, so I was pretty good with physical stress. I created my own energetical technique, all that. The chemical stress was good, but I had to heal from that cancer, right? So of course, emotional and our thought are very important, right? And so I started to investigate that. And in order to understand the mind body connection, well, I was pretty good on body, right? I mean, I had all those, years of study, in the chiropractic school and all that. But I just, what is the mind, right? I mean, this is probably, I mean, it is the most important tool that we have, right? It's our mind. And few people know really what this is about. So I started to dig a little bit. And when I found out, there's a couple of things I want to share with you and your audience, right? And so the first thing is like it's kind of like we live in two separate worlds in the same time. So what do I mean by that? We've got what we call the outside world, what you are aware of, what you perceive as your reality, right? So what are you aware of? You're aware of your thought, your emotion, your behavior, and your action. So it's basically your personality, what we call your self-identity. I am blah, 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 right? And after you've got another mind, and it's called the subconscious mind. And this subconscious mind is very mysterious. It's kind of hidden in a way, right? And so that subconscious mind records everything you have been doing in your life from age zero to now. all your skill as a podcaster, as a businessman, are stored in your subconscious mind. All the automatic process in your body that happen with you not thinking about it, like your digestion, your heartbeat, your breathing, come from your subconscious mind. So I started to be, man, this is very interesting. What is that subconscious mind, right? So first of all, what you have to know, and you can do the Google things on that, okay? So your conscious mind, who you think you are, what you are aware of is only, depends who you're reading, 5 or 10% of your mind. Therefore, your subconscious mind that you really don't know what the heck is going on down there, right, is 90 to 95% of your mind. So it was mind blowing. I mean, because here's the problem. When you want to find resolution for your problem, when you want to transform yourself, when you want to grow into the businessman that you think you are, right? And even when you are like for health, which is, what I do also, if you want to heal, what are we focusing on? Only on a conscious mind, meaning that in order to find solution for our problem or challenges, we use only 5 or 10% of our mind power. So I thought about myself, hey, why don't we bring the subconscious mind to the party, right? And so that's what's the spark that started the mind clearing, right? There's one more thing that I want to say also. Like right there, I can see you in the camera, right? And I can hear you, right? So the conscious mind process data, information, right, from the outside world at 11 bits per second. The subconscious mind processes data at 11 million bits per second. So it means right now I'm aware of 11 bits per second, and your subconscious mind register 11 million more, right? I mean, isn't it crazy?
That is crazy. Crazy. Um, it's funny because I think when you talk about this, an analogy for me is, I was really into weightlifting when I was younger, and everybody, men always want big arms, and so they focus so much on the bicep, but the bicep is so much smaller than the tricep that if you actually work your triceps more, you get bigger arms. But the parallel there for me. I mean, it's amazing that that the subconscious mind has such a and I know it has a giant sway on things. I mean, people do things all the time, and then you say to yourself, why did I do that? I knew better. Or, that was such an obvious thing. How did I not see that? And yet for some reason, sometimes we're just on autopilot doing our things. I've gotten on the highway to drive to wherever I was going. And I had been to some place so often, like bringing my son to school or whatever, that I would just get off the exit and then I'm not even going. That's not where I was going today. But my mind was just so much on autopilot. I'm not even thinking about driving. I'm just getting off the exit because that's what where I would normally be going. And so you can see, I think, instances and examples of our subconscious mind jumping in there on us all the time. It's just a question of whether or not we're aware of it, right? Um, so do you think then? I guess what I'm curious about is then if I'm making a decision, I'm a businessman and I'm saying to myself, all right, I'm analyzing my market and I'm realizing this isn't good. I got to change something. I got to make a change. I got to do something in order to grow my sales or pivot my business model or whatever else. Um, to what degree do you think that decision is something that's based on what I'm actually perceiving? And to what degree are the decisions or possibilities that I consider to do based on what my subconscious mind is absorbing?
That's an awesome question because here's the next step we have to understand about the subconscious mind. So we all have been programmed. You have been programmed, right, Brett? I have been programmed. Everybody listening to that program has been programmed. So disclaimer, we can be programmed at any age and at any time, right? But mostly that programming happened from the age to 0 to 7 years old, right? Or 8 years old. Why? Because at that time, we process the world differently. We've got different brain waves. We've got theta wave, beta wave. So we like sponges, right? And so what we see in the outside world, we just assume that's the truth, right? That's our experience, right? So you assume that is the truth one time, two time, and after it become a program. And that program is stored in the subconscious mind, right? So it's kind of like we have been programmed by other people, right? By some, maybe sometimes traumatic situation, right? So like a program, there's good program and bad program, right? I mean, oh, sure. Like life, we've got good experiences and bad experiences, right? And so a good program in your subconscious mind, we call that empowering belief, or I call that a positive programming, right? And after a bad program in your store in your subconscious mind, we call that limiting belief or negative programming. So if I make, since we're talking about program, allow me to make the analogy of the mind and the computer, because I think people will understand that. Is it okay?
Of course.
All right. Okay. So um, your brain actually is your hard drive. Your subconscious mind is your software, right? The programming of your computer, right? The output of your software is the conscious mind. And your behavior is reflected on the screen of life, right? So if I've got mostly lots of good programming, right? You see, and Brett, you ask me how you doing. I say, oh, never better, right? I mean, I cannot be. I love what I see on my screen of life, right? I mean, I cannot believe I created that technique. This is designed to help millions of people. I mean, life is great, right? But if I've got lots of negative programming, right? And so you ask me how you doing. I say, oh man, life is a struggle. It's like everybody's succeeding around me, on my friend, or my high school friend are succeeding, and I'm not making it. And why me? It always happened to me, where I think I make it, boom, it just go down the drain and all that. So that's going to be more victim mode instead of being the creator mode, right? And so that will define your mindset, right? And the mindset is everything. Everything in life, for your business, for your relationship, for your health, it's everything. Some people, they say, oh, to be optimistic when you are sick, it's half of a battle. No, it's 90% of a battle. It really is. And so those programs behind that run behind the scenes, some you are aware in your conscious mind, sometimes you say, because you see the pattern, right? You see the effect of it, right? And so you say, oh man, that there's something wrong with me, right? I mean, that's basically people say, right? Why I'm always, attracting the same woman, right? Why I always having, the same kind of pattern in my business, right? With high and low, like you describe, high and low, right? And so why? Let me give you an example you're going to understand very well. So let's pretend there's a little girl, and that little girl's got a dad is an alcoholic. Come back every night, drunk, and beat up his wife. What do you think that little girl's going to attract as a romantic relationship down the road? What do you think, Brett?
Probably somebody who's abusive, and it seems like it would be the opposite because that's what you've lived. So you'd realize how horrific that is and want to get away from it. But I know that pattern repeats itself.
Yes, and so basically, let's go deeper into that, right? So if I ask that woman now, she's a woman, she's in that relationship, ask her, do you enjoy to get beat up like your mom? She's going to say no. So the conscious mind going to say, heck no, right? But the subconscious mind has been programmed as men are predators and women are prey. So there's three different case scenario with that woman, right? She married a guy, gets stuck in that relationship for the rest of her life. Got beat up sometime, called the cops, never pressed charges. And we all have heard or know some relationship like that. And we say, why she's not, leaving, right? It's crazy, that situation. Why? Because of that programming. That's how powerful your programming is, right? And so case scenario number two, she got with an abusive guy and get tired of it, right? So get to another relationship, lots of suffering, maybe kids along the way, who knows, right? And at the end, there's two reaction that the woman have. The first one, say, Dr. Salas, don't talk to me about men. I'm done with men. They are not good for me, right? It's kind of there's a fire. You put your finger in it. You say, oh, it burned. You put your finger twice. You say, okay, I got it. It's not good for me, right? And after, you've got that because we can learn from our life experiences, right? And so that woman will attract somebody that's totally the opposite, totally different, somebody that respected her, somebody that see her as an equal, somebody that truly love her, right? For who she is, right? And respected her, right? And so that's how you know that that program is over, right? That you heal from it, right? And case scenario number 3, she can come to see me and we can delete that program, right? We can speak the same language that your subconscious mind in 3 steps and get rid of that, right?
So that's, I mean, that's powerful to be able to, once you once you recognize that there's a negative sort of pattern based on some belief that you have, I think, that obviously would make it easier to be able to, because the first thing is, right, if we're not even aware, that makes it really difficult. So if we
Correct.
apply the same idea to goal setting, right, goal setting is obviously a big thing,
Yes.
especially in the personal development entrepreneurial space. Typically, there are various different exercises we might follow. We sit down, we plan our goals. Is there something that we're doing in that process that should be different, or what are what
Oh, yeah.
what are sort of the pros and cons with the way we're supposed to be setting goals?
Oh, yeah. You know, so first of all, before answering your question, I want to mention one thing, right? So, what is the solution, right? Because people say, "Man, you know where I've been programmed. That's bad news." The good news, you can be reprogrammed, right? So, how to do it? It's like when you've got a computer, right, and you've got a program that doesn't work for you. What are you going to do? Number one, you're going to delete that program. I don't need it, right? Number two, you're going to go to the Play Store and download another program that is good for you, that works for you, right? So you don't even need to find out what is that program that you don't want anymore. You don't need to identify your limiting belief, right? Because how do you want to identify something that is 90 to 95% more powerful than you? I mean, more, yeah, more powerful than you are using 5 or 10% of your mind power. I mean, the odds are against you, right? So you just replace it. You download something that you want, and on your screen of life, right? On your screen, you're gonna love, the outcome and your result. That's what you want, right? So that's the way to do it, right? And so for goal setting, right? So the 3 step up, it's important to understand that because after it leads to your answer, right? So you delete what you don't want, you download what you want, and you want to create. You want to manifest. And that's where the goal setting comes, right? So when you set a goal, right, you have a preconceived idea how you're going to do it, right? Right? You say, well, I want to do it this way and blah, 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 which is legit, right? But your motivation is going to be at its peak. It's when you start. When you've got that spark and you say, okay, that's what I want. And usually what happens after, well, life is a vibration, is a wave, right? So there's always up and down. The Disney movie that they get married and they will be happy ever after. It's an utopia. You will never, it's not possible. That's not how life works, right? And we all know that, right? And so you're going to have up and down. Now, if it's become too hard, so your motivation goes this way, goes down, goes down, goes down, goes down, right? And maybe you quit because it's too hard, right? So what it will be good, it's like your motivation start there. So if you got motivation, you want also to have clarity, focus, and confidence along the way, right? So in order to reach your goal, right? So what if it will be the opposite, right? Can we do that? Can you have more motivation? Can you have more clarity? Can you have more focus? Can you have more confidence? I say, yes, we can. And let me explain it to you how it works, right? So first of all, give me a goal, like a random goal that, like as an example,
Well, I
as
mean,
an entrepreneur.
yeah, I mean, I think, what somebody might say is if you're starting off your business, maybe you want to get to, 100,000 or $1 million in sales for the year. Typically, people will start with some sort of financial goal because they equate it back to what their lifestyle is going to look like with that. And so I think that's a very typical sort of goal that people would set to start off with.
Yeah, and the business is about you have to make money, right? Otherwise, it's not a business, right? And so, yeah, so let's see, 100,000 a year, right? So you're gonna have a. So first of all, we want to make sure that in the subconscious mind, there's no program that can prevent you to reach that number, right? And so what we will do, we want to make sure that you, in order to hold your being to be aligned with your goal, you want to make sure that your thought, your emotion, your behavior and action are aligned. Let me give you an example. Let's see, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to start a diet, right? And so I'm thinking I'm going to start a diet, right? And after I've got an emotion or feeling that comes and say, hey, Alan, wait a minute. Last time you started a diet, you lose like 20 pounds, but you're getting back in 20 days or whatever, 2 months, right? And so my emotions are not aligned with my thought, right? So maybe I'm not going to even start the diet. And maybe best case scenario, if I start the diet, I'm not going to last, because when it starts too difficult, boom, that emotion triggered by that program in that subconscious mind is going to sneak in and say, okay, what the hell, I'm done with the diet, right? Anyway, it's not going to work, right? So it's very important when you understand the alignment, right? Your thought, your emotion. So positive thought, right? Supportive emotion, right? You want also to have desirable behavior and productive action, right? That's what you want, right? That's what calling a line. And after you are literally flowing towards your goal, right? Is it enough? It's not. Because what you need to do, you need to start with baby step, right? So you start a baby step within a week or 10 days that you can check that step, right? And so, first of all, I have to say your motivation and your clarity and your focus, just doing that pre-work, is going to increase, right? Because we want more clarity. We're deleting some negative thoughts, some negative emotion and all that. So already, boom, your motivation is higher, right? And your clarity and your focus and your purpose and your confidence, right? So that's number one. Number two, you take that baby step. And so I will ask you, Brett, within 10 days, we'll meet again, right? Or you can do that on yourself, because you can learn that technique and transform yourself, right? So within 10 days, let's see, maybe you have you decided to call 10 people, right? Who have reached that goal, right? But and after maybe four answers, and only one give you some good tip, the other one can you brush you up, right? So there's things you didn't lack when you were making this phone call. So all the things you don't like are called resistance, right? Instead of flowing, it's a resistance, right? It's like a beaver creating a dam, right? So you don't want that, right? So they are called resistance. So with a mind clearing, we're going to delete with all the things you didn't like, right? So that's going to increase your clarity, that's going to increase your focus, and that's going to increase your confidence, right? Because you say, okay, I'm good now, right? Okay. And because you've got a better clarity, focus, and confidence, your next step is going to be better because more clarity, right? Your decision making is going to be better. It's not going to be interfered by negative emotion or negative thought or things like that, right? So you get a better clarity. You take another baby step, and we're going to start the process all over again. So that's what I'm talking. You start here with your motivation and focus and clarity, and it's getting bigger, better and better, and it's getting easier and easier, right? Because you've got less interference, you've got less resistance towards your goal. Does it make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. I guess the thing that pops into my mind as you're saying this is, how do we know? I guess one of the things that's always been, because look, I'm a big believer in certainly the subconscious mind and its power. We did a funny little story. So we were in middle school, and probably seventh or eighth grade. We had a teacher back then in social studies, and he was really big into what he called the alpha state. And he was saying it's when the subconscious and conscious mind align. And he was teaching like and it had nothing to do with the class. Class was about history and social studies and stuff like that. But it was something he was fascinated about. He was an athlete. And so he had done this, whatever, and studied this. And so back in that time, it wasn't quite as there was no internet, right? So you didn't have
Yeah.
access. Not everybody knew what all these things were. So he had us do this experiment as a class, and we all stood in silence. And there was this one little string hanging from the ceiling, and he had us all focus on the string to see if collectively we could make it move, just through our thoughts and our energy and stuff like that. The string moved, or I don't know if he had some kind of a fan or something blowing on it, but but I intuitively understood what he was talking about, and I understood the value of it. I guess the thing that always tripped me up is, as someone who's motivated, I consider myself to be pretty self-motivated. I'm very good at, brooking adversity and working through difficult things, but yet I always feel like there are things where, like you said, it's a rhythm. Sometimes things are up and everything's going really well. Things are down. How do I know whether that's something I'm doing to myself in like a self-sabotage way, or whether or not it's a market factor? It's something outside my control that there's nothing I could have done. Now I just have to adjust to what I'm doing in order to find that. I guess that's the part for me that I was always found a little bit confusing, because I don't want to overthink it either and be like, well, not everything is going exactly the way I want today. So therefore, I must be defeating myself and not realizing it.
Yeah, but you don't want to think too much, right? That's not good for
Exactly.
us, right? So the thing of the matter, it's how you react to things. See, that's the key. If you react and you're like on fight and flight, oh my God, this is bad, and look what's going to happen to my business, and it's going to, I'm sure, of course, I make it like extreme, right? But basically it. And in life in general, it's how you react to things. If you can stay balanced and cool and collected, right? Okay, you will weather the storm, right? So that's the same thing. And you keep your clarity when you like this, and you can keep your focus, and you can keep your confidence. But if you're like reacting or overreacting, whatever you call it, right? Negatively, I will say if you react negatively, that's how the boat's going to sink, right? And you're going to go with it, right? And so the thing is like, it's not too much thinking. It's like, okay, let's say I've got this situation and I've got that feeling that comes up. Okay, you want to live with that feeling, or you want to get rid of it? Get rid of it. Or I've got that negative thought that come up. Get rid of it, right? And like that, you can recenter. It's normal. Like we are human being. We are emotional. It's normal to react to things, right? But if you react to the thing the same way over and over again, that's not good. It's a pattern, right? So you want to get rid of, right? And so it's very important to be able to stay in that core, to stay in that confidence, to stay in that clarity, to stay in that focus. And that's the secret, And in order to do that, you need to have positive thinking, supportive emotion, and, all the rest, and the behavior and the action being productive, right? And when you stay that way, it's not a problem. You actually understand that the adversity that comes up makes you grow as a person, right? It's there for a good reason, right? And you say, oh, this is an opportunity for me to see what I have to work on, right? So it's kind of seeing the glass half empty and half full, right? You see the glass totally half full, right? And you say, oh, okay, well, let's do that and let's work on that by reprogramming myself, right? I want you to understand that the reprogramming, although it happened in the subconscious mind, that you can detect it very easily in the conscious mind, is what you don't want or what you don't like, and boom, you can get rid of it, right? And create the life that you want. But you will always have up and down. It's normal. Again, it's how you react to it. Make sense?
Yeah, yeah, it does. So basically, the key is to be conscious of what our thoughts are and how we're reacting to things. So then we can identify whether that's helping us, whether it's productive or whether it's destructive. And then at that point, if let's say that we identify then a belief that I've got that I don't really like anymore, I'd like to get rid of this. What are the steps, or what would I have to do to be able to go through the process to say, okay, let's get rid of this, let's get some new software, and let's get something else going with this?
Yeah, so I used to travel a lot, right? And so I was going to different countries, right? And the most frustration that I had is when I met a cool guy like you, Brett, and we didn't speak the same language, right? And you couldn't communicate, right? We didn't speak the same language. So it's kind of like here, if we don't have a sound, right? I'm going to have to make some gesture, write down some stuff just to communicate. That's not good, right? And so that's the same thing with working on the subconscious mind. I feel like in my field, they just, it's kind of a crapshoot, and whatever stick, right? And so because they don't speak the same language, right? And so, so what is the language of the subconscious mind? Well, when you're dreaming and you remember of a dream, there's always a picture associated with that, right? You never heard of anybody. I remember only the smell of my dream, or the noise of my dream, or you see what I mean? Doesn't make any sense. So it works with picture. That's why you can store so much data and symbolism, right? Remember 11 million bits per second instead of 11 bits per second, right? And so what I will ask you, I will say, okay, Brett, visualize what you don't want, but you have to be in that picture. You have to show yourself in that picture. I call that the past you that you want to bring back, right? And so I will say, okay, how negative is that picture? 1/10. Most people say 10/10, right? And after I will tell you, I will give you the technology, because first of all, the picture is the representation of your subconscious mind. And that's your subconscious mind. That's not mine. That's not Elsa subconscious mind, right? It's yours. So it's empowering you to heal yourself, to transform yourself, and to grow yourself, right? That's very important, right? Because I think, to me, when you empower people to heal themselves, it's the holy grail of healing. There's no better things than that, right? And so you visualize that, and after we start the delete protocol, and within 5 or 10 minutes, that negative emotion is gone. You look at the picture, you say, man, it's gone. I don't feel negative about that. Even sometimes the picture had changed also, right? So we do that deletion process, and after, Brett, I want you to visualize totally the opposite of that picture. Like totally opposite, right? Something that you love, and how much you love, 1 to 10. If it's 6, 5, no, try to make that picture better, right? Until we reach 8 or 10, right? You say, I love the picture. Now we're going to download and customize to you, right? That downloading program, right? So you just downloading, you just send it, to you in that picture, right? And after, when we're done with that, first of all, now we start to feel pretty good and smiling and say, oh, life is good, right? And after, we want to make sure that you're going to manifest that into your life, because how we learn from life, it's physical, right? You have to do something. You have to take action. Let's see, if you say, oh, I'm going to reprogram myself to be a millionaire, and you're going to sit on the couch and say, okay, I'm waiting, right? That's not how life works, right? And so it sounds silly, but lots of people procrastinate or don't take action is because of programming in their mind, right? And so basically, okay, what will be the first step that you want to take, right? To go towards your goal, right? And so you visualize that, right? We make it good. Boom, we download that program, and you start to do this. You start to take action. Now, here's the thing about, does it make sense what I told you? Do you want
Yes,
to
yes,
talk about it?
100%. Yep.
Okay. So now, with the creation process, we need to keep our focus, right? The focus is very important. Clarity is as important, but the focus with creation, it's important. So I will ask you to visualize, like maybe the picture that you downloaded, right? You need to write down what it is. And every morning, you're going to visualize that picture for like 30 seconds, 1 minute, right? During the day, you're going to do that. It doesn't take long, maybe 5 minutes a day. That's what it's going to take. And before going to bed, you visualize that. And you're done. And you do that over and over again every day, right? That's going to keep your focus. You're going to be able to tap into that good energy, right? That's the log that fuel, that's a part of the log that fuel your fire, right? And you do that every day, and that's it. And we go on, and after, we can do the goal stepping process, the baby step that we talk about, right? To speed up, is like the turbo, right? Just to speed up the process to reach your goal. And so the big things that I want to say here to our audience, it's like professional development and personal development works hand to hand. You cannot separate them. That's for sure.
Yeah, and that's clear and obvious and super important. So I guess the next logical question about that would be, all right, so what are we looking at in terms of a time frame? So to set expectations, let's say I identify this limiting belief and I want to replace that.
We
I
don't
understand.
identify it. I'm sorry, we don't identify it.
Okay.
Yeah, we
So,
just replace it.
oh,
That's
okay.
important. Yeah. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I have
No,
to say it.
no, 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 that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. So So once we replace it, then what is our
Yes.
I understand we need repetition and to continue to do that, but I guess how long does the process take for one? And then for two, how long until we would start to feel sort of the manifestation of, feeling differently about it or performing differently based on that?
We're feeling and performing towards that right away because you have been reprogrammed, right? So even if you had some, because during the deletion process, I will ask you, okay, well, do you have any doubt about that it's not going to work? Okay, so we delete that. So we delete all the things that before even starting are in your mind that can that you say they are resistance. Remember we talk about resistance. We get rid of all the preconceived resistance that you already had. So already you feel so much better, right? That's why I said during the download process you're going to be smiling and say, okay, yeah, of course I'm going to do that, right? But life is life, right? So you're going to encounter some challenges because remember, it's up and down, it's a wave, it's a vibration, right? So like that, you can surf, through on that wave, right? And stay cool, calm, and collected, and balanced towards that, right? So that's what we want, like that. You keep your clarity and all that. Now, the time, if you're impatient, you know what I will do? I'll do mind clearing on that. Why you have to be impatient, right? You see what I mean? You see, so all the things that we think are normal for us, okay, I want that goal now, no, 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 no. Yeah, because, well, that's, you're not in sync, you're not flowing, right? And so you should be, okay, let's see what happens. And it depends the goal, it depends so many criteria, it depends of the trauma you may have and all that, right? So it's hard to give, but what I can guarantee and logically, what if you heard me, instead of going this way, is going that way. So you're going to enjoy the ride, right? So because that's what they say, it's the journey that matters, right? It's not the destination, right? And that's so true. But hey, do you want you to make your journey as hard as possible because you have been told, oh, you have to work hard and play hard, right? Or you want to make it as pleasant as possible, right? And with more chance to reach your goal. And in the same way, you're going to transform yourself as an individual, right? That's going to impact also your relationship. That's going to impact your health, your entire being. When we reprogram the mind, that's an effect not only in your business but every aspect of your life, right? And there's one more thing that I want to say because people sometimes they are hard time to get what I said. So each time you increase your clarity, focus, and confidence or certainty, right? You're going to reach more level of openness, right? And so, or some people will say a higher level of consciousness, right? So let's see the knowledge to be all I want to be is here, right? And I'm here. So each time you're making the step and you do the mind clearing, you're raising your level of clarity, focus, and after you're going to be able to resonate with that knowledge that really is going to make a big difference for you. How do I know that? Well, when I started to work on the mind clearing, right? I started to do things out of the blue. That's how I got my intuition, I guess, or my creativity, right? And so after I will ask the feedback of my patient, but I say, how I'm going to explain that? I had no idea, right? But what happened? I treated myself, with the technique at the beginning and all that. I treated myself, and again, and I will get YouTube video, I will get a book on my way, I will get this happening out of the blue that give me more knowledge in order to be able to explain what I do right now, like I do. So you will get higher level of knowledge, right? So that's important to know. So when you've got higher level of knowledge because of your higher level of clarity, focus, and certainty, right? It's much easier. You've got more knowledge to resolve your problem or your challenges, right? And it becomes much easier, right?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, when we're in a positive or empowered state, I mean, we've all experienced this anyway. If you're in a position where things feel good to you and life feels good and you're in a positive mind frame, all the little things that might otherwise annoy you, you don't recognize. You don't recognize the red light. You don't recognize the guy that cut you off at the corner or whatever else. When you're in that negative state, all those little things are such bigger obstacles. Everything feels like an impediment. Everything feels like, and so I 100% recognize and have felt myself the power of being in the right kind of mind state for things, because it just changes your entire approach to everything. A small task, if you're in a low energy, sort of negative place, seems really hard to do. In it, when you're in the opposite mind frame, you blow through that without even thinking about it, and then move on to the next thing because you're like, oh yeah, I got this. But I also love the fact that you mentioned enjoying the journey, because this is something that I have to say, I'm guilty of not doing enough, and I've started as I've gotten older to spend a little bit more time, focusing on that, because we're so goal oriented and driven all the time that the focus always seems to be on whatever the target is. But the reality of it is, even the target itself, it's not even just about enjoying the journey for the journey's sake, but also part of what makes the value of getting to the target is the fact that we had to go through the journey to get there. Let's face it, no matter what it is in our lives, if it's something that comes naturally to us, that it's so easy for us, we generally don't appreciate it as much. When it's something we have to work for, when it's something that we had to, strive for, and put effort and energy to get, those are the things that we really appreciate. It reminds me, there's a movie, St. Elmo's Fire. It's from the 1980s, but there's a scene in it. There's a girl, she's a post college, early career woman, and her father's rich, and her father's set her up with a boyfriend that's going to be the guy she's going to marry, and he comes from a good family, and he's got tons of money, so the father's going to buy them an apartment. They're going to have everything set up, and she says, you know what? I don't want this. You know what I mean? I'm going to go get my own job. I'm going to go get my own little, one bedroom apartment, studio apartment. And she says to her friends, after she goes through with this and does it the next day, she says, I made a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for myself last night in my own apartment. It's the best one I ever had. Right? It's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. There's nothing special about that, right? You can get that anywhere. And but the fact that she worked for it, did it herself, and it was her own thing, is what created the perception of value for her in doing that. And I think too often we're so goal focused that it's important to, enjoy the journey. And I tell podcasters this all the time, because look, podcasting, if you enjoy it, is a blast. I absolutely loved the opportunity to jump on here and talk with people like you. I learn a ton, so selfishly it's great for me, but I also love to be able to help you share your message with an audience. And the whole experience, I think it's just a win-win-win all the way around. But for people that try to get into it for the purpose of an end, well, I want to make money, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. You've got to do it out of love and out of passion. And if that's where it comes from, all the rest of it will naturally just manifest, because you're doing it from a place where you're unstoppable because you love it. You're not doing it for that end goal reason. And I think, I do think that that's super important when we try to go through that. So if somebody wants to just put themselves in the most positive, like productive state that they can, are there things that they could do, or are there ways that they can put themselves in a thriving mindset that allows them to make smarter decisions, have supportive emotions instead of detracting emotions, and be more productive and inspired?
Yeah, well, they can come to see me if they want, for sure. But yeah, I'm going to give you some tricks that they can use. Okay. But what I want to say about your great comment, right? First of all, you want your mind working for you instead of working against you. And that's that simple. That's what it comes down to, right? And there's one more thing you were mentioning, purpose, right? Purpose, it's everything. So now that's what we do. We start like this. Okay. Purpose is why you do what you do, basically, right? And so if you usually they tell me, oh, I want to make $1 million, whatever, right? I say, no, that's not your purpose. Why do you want? So we start to dig, right? And to find out, why you do what you do, right? For me, it was given by, by experience that I had in South of France, right? But you need to have your purpose right. You need to understand why you playing the game, right? You need to understand that, right? And so that's one of the first things to establish. And there's different things that I use for that, right? To make sure that it's come really from your higher self, right? And it sounds so esoteric. It's not. It's not. You just make sure we can tap. Uh, short circuit the ego, right? And after, when you've got your purpose, remember, that's your fire. And after, your action's going to be the log you put to feed your fire. And because the why you what you do is your heart. And what you mentioned, when we establish a goal, we project ourselves in the future. And you don't want to stay in the future. You want to live your life. You want to enjoy. You want to be in the present, right? That's why, so we are too much in our head, right? All our energy is going to our head, and we use our only 5 or 10% of our mind, by the way, that logical things and all that. Some more people who are more left brain, who use more of that, and that's what we are, right? And so we get stuck in there, right? How do I know that, right? Okay, you look at the stat. 80% our thoughts are negative. 95% of our thoughts are the same that the day before. So we are like the hamster in the wheel things, and going over and over and again. 40 to 60,000 for the day. That's a lot. So it's all down, it's all up there, should I say, right? So with a mind clearing, we bring more peace of mind, right? We've got more clarity, focus, remember. And after, we start to open up that heart that has been shut down, right? And after, you can take better action, because the way it works, you're going to love it. Love this. So you've got what I call the head, the heart, and the hara, the free edge. So hara in Japanese means belly. That's why you take action, right? Yeah, he had the gut to create, Brett had the gut to create a podcast, right? So that's where you take action. So remember, they have to be aligned. But also, your mind is how you do things. Your heart is why you do things. And the hara in your gut, it's what you're doing. So if you are only on the how, on your head, like most of the people, and the why is not there, it's like you missing the essential. You missing why you doing that mission, right? That's so important. And so also, to see the things differently a little bit, just to open the mind a little bit. This is the past, right? Because you have been programmed in the past, right? So your mind is the past, right? The present is the why. It's your feeling. It's the love, right? And after, the future, what you're going to create. It's the what, right? And so when you see that vibration like this, right? The first up is your mind. When you cross the line, is your heart, and after, the creation is your hara, is your belly. And I created we can talk about forever, but I created a philosophy about that. So you understand, if you're stuck in the how and you don't know really truly the real why, right? Because, like they say, they can tell me, oh, it's going to be $1 million or whatever, but why you wake up and you want to do that, right? So why you do what you do, it's so important. And so that's how we start the process, finding the why you're doing things, right? It's so important.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love the visual with that, because it makes it very easy to understand, digest, and see how that makes logical sense. I mean, obviously, if things are not in alignment, it's going to make it difficult to be pulling forward. It's like being on a team and you've got three or four of the people going this way and three or four of the people going this way.
They're
You're just
pulling the
not going
other
to.
way.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're all going in the same direction, then obviously what you're able to accomplish is far, far greater. So, all right. So where can people find you, find your products, find your services, connect with you?
Okay, so it's my website, themindclearing.com, mindclearing.com. Go to contact, there's a jot form, or my email. You email me if you want to, because we can talk about that forever, right? But if you truly want the knowledge about it, you have to experience it. Like that, you will understand what I'm talking about, right? This is not some concept and all that. You will feel it, you will experience it, right? And you will see how you're going to change even in one visit, right? And you can get rid of whatever you want, like a negative thought, emotion, and work on goal setting, on whatever you want, whatever is bothering you the most, right? So that's what you want to do. That now, if you want to work on yourself, because I didn't forget your question, if you want to work on yourself, so you visualize a picture what you don't want, And that's going to open up the file cabinet in your subconscious mind and telling the subconscious mind, I want to work on this file, right? Because you cannot delete it. I cannot give you a tip for that. It's just, otherwise you have to learn that technique, right? So so you take this file, that's what I want to work on, right? So you anchor that negative things, and after you visualize the opposite of that, and here you want to feel, you want to take that what's in the file, get rid of it, and replace it by something better that you want, right? So you want to connect to that picture and really feel all the positivity on that, whatever feeling there's there. And so that's called brain and heart coherence or alignment. But it's not enough because you want to take action, right? That's why the creation process come after. So you want to feel that, right? And so whatever picture you've got after during the creation process, you can visualize that. Is it going to be as good as mind clearing? Of course not, because there's so many steps. But at least it will give you, if you want to play with it, right? It will give you a little bit of an input how powerful it can be. Only this, right? And every day, for you, 5 minutes a day, right? You visualize that, and to keep focus on your goal and what you want to reach.
Perfect. Thanks for that. All right, I have one last question I have to ask because I always want to know what people are going to say, and that's what's your number one tip for success as a business owner or an entrepreneur?
Well, it's just you work on yourself, right? And just get rid of those um, negative programming that are dictating. So it's kind of like your past, but it's dictating your present and shaping your future. Do you want to have that in your life? No, I don't want. It doesn't have to. I don't want to make it more difficult, right? And so it's such a liberation, because it's like this, right, man? I don't have to struggle with the same things all over and again. I don't have to feel stuck. But it also improve your quality of life during the day and every day. It's such a gift. I mean, when you experience that, it's kind of like you bulletproof, because whatever, just bring it, whatever happened. And I mean it, I've been through it, right? And you just, even I just pinch myself. I cannot believe that you don't react the way you used to, right? Before I will be on a panic and all that, and think so negatively. And at the beginning I do, but boom, I delete it if it's too bad, or it just go away by itself. Because what you have to understand that we are emotional being, and we think, right? So you always have some negative emotions. Now, do you stay in it or not? That's what makes the difference, right? Between somebody who's happy and somebody that is less happy, right? And so after, when you reach a certain level of clarity, focus, and all that, you're going to react to that things that happen to you negative, but boom, it's going to go down there. It's going to be gone very quickly.
Yeah,
That's why you want to be, trust me.
that's great advice. Perfect. Thanks. All right, with that, it's just about time to wrap things up. I want to thank you, Alan, again so much for sharing all your insights and great tips with us. Visit themindclearing.com to learn about his services and offers and to connect with him. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, remember, no matter what you want from your business and your life, don't compromise, optimize.